So I realize that this may come as a shock to some of you, but it's pretty unbelievable to me, honestly, as someone with a background in health, that some of these so called health foods that are marketed in ways in which they're supposed to benefit your health are in no way healthy at all. So I just wanted to share with you this list of kind of the top five that I typically come across that I find people try to incorporate into their diet when they're trying to be more healthy. And honestly, it really honestly makes me cringe. And I do try to have that conversation with people about reading labels. But let's just get into it. We'll talk about the five that I have on my list and why they're not healthy for you. And if you're not already consuming them, why you should avoid them. And if you are, you maybe want to reconsider. Number one. Number one on my list that's oftentimes marketed as a health food that a lot of people like to try to start incorporating when they want to become healthy is granola. Granola. Uh, Granola is made up of oats, but more importantly, it's filled with excessive amounts of sugars, a lot of saturated fats. So it's typically bound together with a lot of oils like coconut oils, a lot of the thicker oils. So in addition to that, there is also tends to be a lot of additives. Things like nuts and seeds, those are the kind of health aspects of granola. But outside of that, oftentimes it's going to have potentially like chocolate chips, candies, all types of things. And to be honest, it's more of a dessert than any type of a health food, and really should be only consumed sparingly, like for dessert, to be honest. So oftentimes what I find is that people will start to eat granola, especially for breakfast, as a way to try and be more healthy, more full. Certainly granola is dense, so there's some fullness that can come from it, but honestly, it's not worth the trade-off because not only are you consuming excessive amounts of saturated fats and oils, but also extremely high amounts of sugars. Now, I know sometimes people like to make granola at home in an attempt to make it more healthy. And if that's something that you choose to do, that can definitely help. But generally speaking, most of the granolas that are available over the counter in the grocery stores in packages are going to just have excessive amounts of sugars, carbohydrates, fats that are not going to move you towards goal, especially if that goal is to generally be healthier, decrease inflammation, lose weight, be more fit. It's not going to help unless maybe your goal is to maybe add more sugar to your diet. And for most of us, that's not going to benefit us. Number two, yogurt. Yogurt is oftentimes marketed as a health food, but to be honest, yogurt is full of artificial sweeteners. It's a GMO, it's pasteurized, and the majority of yogurts that are available today in our supermarkets, grocery stores, and even health food stores are not at all nutritional. I know that a lot of them are marketed towards having nutritional values such as high amounts of protein or high amounts of probiotics, but truthfully, they don't they don't have sufficient quantities of nutrient value in order to trade off how much sugar you're consuming. It also has a lot of unnecessary additives and preservatives in order to give yogurt the shelf life that it has in order for it to be available. But then in addition to that, a lot of the yogurts are flavored with additional sweeteners to give it the flavor. So if you're dealing with like vanilla yogurt and your fruit-filled yogurts, which some people are marketing as being even healthier, right? Because they have fruit, but honestly, they're full of sugar, additives, fat, and not going to move you towards goal if your goal is to be more healthy. So, if you're someone who loves yogurt and that's something that you normally like to eat and you'd like to find a healthier way to incorporate it into your diet, then definitely try and consider reading the labels, making sure that you're aware of how much sugar is in the yogurt that you are consuming, but maybe consider trying to make a batch of yogurt at home, because that way you're in control of how much sugar and other, the other additives and preservatives, you can cut those out if you're making it at home. Number 3 that I have on my list is diet soda. Okay, so that one may not be as unbelievable, but let's just talk a little bit about diet soda because it's a huge industry here in the United States of America. Diet sodas were first introduced back in the 1950s, and they were initially introduced for people with a history of diabetes in an effort to allow people with diabetes to be able to have a sweet tasting bubbly beverage that was not going to adversely impact their blood sugar and insulin levels. And so these diet sodas were developed with these artificial sweeteners, etc. But in hindsight and in retrospect, with the research and the evidence, what we discovered was that the diet sodas actually increase appetite. They have the potential to increase your appetite and actually have the adverse effect and cause you to actually gain more weight. One thing that we know about artificial sweeteners that are in diet sodas is that they can be very addictive. So once you start consuming diet sodas on a regular basis, there's a good chance that you'll begin to crave that. You'll want more and more, and or you may find or discover that you actually need to have more to fulfill your craving. So whereas you used to get satisfied off of 4 ounces of a diet cola, now you want 8 ounces, then you need 12 ounces, and pretty soon, before you know it, you want to drink 16 ounces of diet soda every day just to get you through, let's call it that. Not only that, but then there can be some issues with your energy levels. Like you find that you have to have your diet soda in order to feel as though you have your boost of energy. And if you don't have your diet soda, you just feel tired, fatigued, you feel like you're dragging. And so what you end up doing is just consuming larger and larger amounts of this diet soda, which is also increasing your appetite. So you're eating more. And according to a lot of the evidence that we're finding, it causes you actually to gain weight. So if you're trying to be healthier, you want to perhaps maybe lose weight or be more fit, cut out the diet soda. It is not helping you. And if you are struggling to cut it out, I would recommend gradually reducing the amounts of diet soda that you're consuming because, like I said, it can be kind of addictive. You might find that you go through some symptoms of withdrawal, including headaches, fatigue, irritability, mood swings, and those types of things. So it is real. First of all, it's real if you're experiencing those things. And then it may be necessary just to gradually decrease your dependence on the diet soda. But ultimately, the goal should be to completely get rid of it because it's not benefiting your health. On that same note, let's talk a little bit about artificial sweeteners because artificial sweeteners are really, really common and marketed today in a lot of the products that are supposedly healthy. Because what we're doing with these artificial sweeteners is decreasing the sugar and hence decreasing the calories, making things low calorie, which the idea behind that is if we are reducing the amount of caloric intake, then we're in turn going to lose weight. What we found, the truth that we've discovered is that that's not true. That there's a difference between consuming healthy calories and unhealthy calories, and that there is not as much of a direct relationship between calories in and calories out as we may have previously presumed back in the 1970s and 80s. So, what am I saying? What I'm saying is that the quality of the calories that you're consuming makes a difference. So, if your whole goal is to try to not get more than 1,500 calories a day, but you're eating 1,500 calories of Oreo cookies and burgers, you're going to find that your health status, your fitness level, and your weight don't just drop off in the way that it may if you were consuming healthy calories, right? Whole foods, fruits, vegetables, and drinking water. So we definitely know now in 2023 that diet soda, just because it's 0 calories, is not equivalent to drinking water. You're putting things in your body that your body doesn't need. You're putting additives and preservatives and chemicals and coloring and flavoring, all of which we know are linked to cancers and other adverse health conditions that don't benefit you. So definitely something that should be cut out if your goal is to be healthier. The next that I have on my list, sports drinks. So sports drinks are huge. I mean, today, the sports drink industry is a $24 billion industry per year. So it's huge. What that tells me, and it's also expected to increase. So what that tells me is that people are investing in the things that they believe will help them to be more healthy, right? It's a $24 billion per year business. So people are investing, right? People are investing in their health. It's just that they're not investing in the right things. Sports drinks are primarily consumed by teens and young adults, and more than half report having at least one sports drink per week. Basically, what sports drinks are sugary water. It's a sugary water, and it has in some added electrolytes in order for it to be marketed as a health drink. But the idea behind sports drinks is that it's supposed to give you more energy in order to be more active or to be able to exercise more effectively. But I think that when you're thinking about sports drinks and what are the benefits of it, you have to understand how the body uses energy sources for exercise. One thing that we know is that the body uses both glucose and fat in order to exercise. Those are the things that your body is going to burn off during exercise. And of course, the glucose or the carbohydrates or the sugars are the things that are going to be burned off earliest in your session of exercise. And so the idea behind sports drinks when they were developed back in the 1960s, I believe, was that they were supposed to give you this boost of energy in order to allow you to exercise more efficiently. But what we've discovered in the research is that they don't. They don't do that. In fact, most people are doing what we would call moderate levels of exercise. So a maximum of 90 to 120 minutes per session for most people. And during those sessions, yes, you are going to burn up some glucose, which you should. However, you can consume healthier sources of glucose without necessarily having to have a sports drink in order to replenish them. Unless, say, for example, you're someone who is doing excessively long amounts of exercise, like if you're doing a marathon, right? You're doing a marathon run and you're going to be out there running for 5 hours. Well, in those types of extreme, less common situations, then certainly a sports drink may be something that you might want to consider as a quick source of fuel and energy for exercise. However, for most of us who are not doing more than 120 minutes of intense exercise per session, sports drinks are almost never going to be indicated as a way to replenish our energy. There are so many much better options that are healthier for us, that don't have added colors and preservatives and other things that are just not beneficial to our health. And number 5, the last thing that I have on my list is protein bars. Don't come for me. Don't come for me. Those of you who love your protein bars, I know you love them. But to be honest, if you read labels, I think you probably are well aware that protein bars are not healthy for you. They're primarily fat and sugar, like a candy bar. Let's just say that. Let's just say protein bars are essentially your Snickers, but they are doctored up with a bit of added protein in order to be marketed as a health product. However, in looking at kind of an overview of the ingredients that make up protein bars, by and large, they are overly representative in the areas of fat and sugar. In fact, I was looking at some of the research and some of the labels of the protein bars as I was preparing for this, and I was just like, well, you could have a protein bar or you could have a Big Mac, because essentially they're the same. So, and I recognize that many people who are having these protein bars, they're doing it with the intention of being more healthy, right? The goal is to be more healthy, and you wouldn't grab a Big Mac and if you were trying to be more healthy after your exercise session. So I'm sure that that's not the goal when you're having your protein bar. Definitely for people who are trying to get sufficient levels of protein, there are definitely ways to do it without adding excessive grams of sugar and fat that the protein bars contain. So I personally would recommend avoiding them altogether. However, if you're looking for a brand that maybe is a little less less high in the sugar and the fat, then I know I've seen RX bars are pretty reasonable, but read the labels and try to find something that doesn't have so much fat and sugar. But that is all that I have for you today. Why don't you leave me a comment? Let me know what healthy or what unhealthy foods that you were surprised or shocked to find when you started reading the labels. Until next time, see you soon.